Okay, today I will be reading an essay that I wrote for English. Now, obviously this essay is made with like certain requirements or like parameters for grading. And I didn't get like an outstanding grade in this, like a low A or even a B plus, but the moral of this is bigger and definitely one of my prouder moments, and I am by no means like the greatest basketball player, but to anyone who's watching this and maybe going through like struggle in a sport or has a tryout coming up and immense pressure on themselves, just keep your head up, and if things don't work out, it's just a small step in your journey, and it just wasn't meant to be, and it is what it is, because the way I see it, you can't do anything about it if it wasn't meant to be, but you can do what you can do about it. With that being said, here we go. As I laced up my shoes, a swarm of butterflies danced within my stomach. I tried to shake it off, but the echo of the balls and the charisma of the hulking high school coaches amplified my jitteriness. Coach Sierra, the man in charge, anchored the gaze of everyone there. The gym was already alive. Anticipation was rising. When the head coach blew his whistle to bring it in, I could feel the nerves rising up in my chest. We began with dynamic stretches while I shambled down the court, caught in a swarm of people. I focused on my deep breathing, trying to drown out the pressure, but my trembling arms said otherwise. "Everybody line up shortest to tallest," Coach Sierra shouted, blowing the plastic whistle hanging from his neck, cutting my breath short. We lined up shoulder to shoulder in a vast line of eager players. I glanced around in suspense while I tried to predict what was going to happen next. As Coach Sierra got up from his table and began walking, the whole gym was in awe of his presence. The hum of ceiling fans in the hot Austin gym filled my senses as he paced the court. When he finally made his way over, he scanned over us with a sweeping stare. One by one, he pointed and tapped shoulders and called names. "You, come here." Each player stepped out of line and stepped behind him as he made his picks on who he wanted to vet. The line shortened. I watched my friends get called one by one, friends I had considered my equals on the court. I wiped my sweaty palms trying to keep my head up. It was now 4 players away. 3. 2. It was just me and one other freshman left. He was previously cut from the 8th grade basketball team, and my desperation rose. My pride felt hollow, and my entire identity as a basketball player felt fraudulent. Basketball wasn't just a sport to me. It was everything I ever knew. While the coach paused, he scanned me head to toe, deciding my fate in a single look. "Andrew, let's go. The rest of you figure out teams for 3v3s on both courts." I stood there, frozen in disbelief. My teammates and peers followed the coach, glancing back at me, nodding a tight smile. I shrugged in response, acting as if I just brushed it off. But it felt like a punch to the gut. The 8th graders, who were all already friends with one another, split into team captains. Friends were picked quickly while I waited, my mind still numb. The way they looked past me added on to how small I already felt. Finally, one of the players pointed at me, not knowing my name. "Your team is off first," the team captains drawled, with their eyes already gazing away from me. I walked toward the restroom, wishing the ground could just swallow me whole. As I met my eyes in the reflection, the emotion hit me like a truck. My composure dissolved and my cheek muscles surrendered to the letdown. The reality of my skill dawned on me. My ego shattered. The hours upon hours of the grind weren't enough, and the humiliation was enough for me to realize that I wasn't going to let that happen to me again. I splashed my face with water and took a deep breath. I could either accept my defeat or deem myself worthy. When I walked back onto the court, I sat in silence along the sideline. During the games, I fried the 8th graders, playing as if it were personal. Every possession was an internal argument, proving to myself that I belonged. By the end of the games, I had made it known to them that I did not belong with their group. Outside the gym during a water break, I asked my friends if they thought I had a chance of making a team. They shrugged. "Of course you should, man," they muttered. "Maybe," someone added with a muffled mumble into their water bottle. Maybe. I hung on to that word, stacking days, perfecting my skill as the summer carried on. Every morning I woke up and scooted to the park to hear the hypnotic melody of the ball as it echoed through the park. I got shots up before the blazing Texas heat kicked in, with sweat stinging my eyes while I pushed through my workouts. I centered my entire summer around improvement, pushed myself to both solo workouts and alongside my friends. Once tryouts come around, the stress felt immobilizing. It all felt real. As the week went on, I convinced myself that my hard work had not gone unnoticed. I knew that I kept my end of the deal and the results would follow. On the final day, Coach Sierra called my name. My heart raced in my descent to his table. "Congrats, you made the team," he said. I couldn't contain my beaming smile. "Thank you so much," I replied. The assistant coach followed up, saying, "We've seen your improvement since camp and want you to keep it up. Good work." As I walked into my next class, having finally lost the weight off my shoulders, I took a deep breath and realized that I wouldn't have rather had it any other way. I knew that I was the kind of person who could set my mind to a goal and outwork everyone ahead of me. I realized I wasn't phony anymore. I swapped my fragile ego for an irreplaceable self-respect. After all, the harder the battle, the sweeter the victory. I think the moral of this is, this isn't like a higher stage, and it's not this isn't really about the sport or my skill or whatever. It's just if you're going through something of pressure and you're severely stressing yourself out, and stress means that it matters to you, and if you're going through something that matters a lot to you, it'll work out, and all you have to do is just put your best foot forward.